It's my joy to welcome to the Crystal Cathedral Dr. Mary Neal. And Dr. Neal is an orthopedic spinal surgeon from Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And she was formerly the director of spinal surgery at the University of Southern California, right down the street, which is really neat. But what's amazing about Dr. Neal is that she has an incredible story about going to heaven and back. In fact, that's the name of her book. And she's going to describe to us an experience that she had where she died, actually journeyed to heaven, and came back to earth to tell us about it. Would you welcome her to our church? Please welcome Dr. Mary Neal.
Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Neal. What a pleasure it is to have you.
It's my pleasure.
This is I'm so excited to be able to talk to you about this because you hear so many stories about, people that die and they go to heaven, but you're a doctor. I mean, you're a spinal surgeon. You have street cred. You're a scientist.
I am, and a skeptic.
And a skeptic, yeah. And so when I got excited about it. We were talking downstairs, and I said, don't tell me anything. I want to have this conversation with you live, because this is a fascinating story. And it begins, let's see here, in South America. You were in South America with your husband, and tell us what happened.
I was kayaking on a river in South America, in Chile, and it's a river that's well known for its waterfalls. And I don't mean waterfalls, crazy waterfalls like Niagara Falls. I mean waterfalls that are 10 to 15 to 20-foot drops, which again might sound crazy to a non-kayaker, but certainly well within my skill set. And as I went over the top of one waterfall, I looked down and I could see that there was a great deal of turbulence at the bottom, but no clean exit. And so I went over the waterfall, and my boat was pinned in the rocks and the other features at the bottom of the waterfall, and I and my boat were immediately submerged.
Was there anybody else on the boat, or was it just you?
No, it's a single-person kayak.
Yeah. Like the little...
Right.
Okay, yeah. Do you have the helmet and the whole...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Of course. And I'm a spine surgeon, and I'm used to being calm in stressful situations. So I immediately tried to rock the boat free and pull the spray skirt off of my boat, push out, do all those sorts of things to free myself from the boat. And I went through the sequence a number of times, and it became very clear that I wasn't making progress, that I was out of air, and I was too far from shore for anyone to help me. And I knew intellectually that despite a lifetime of fearing a drowning death, even though I'm an absolute water person, that I was going to drown.
And that was a fear you carried your whole life, that you would die from?
I did,
okay.
Even though I loved the water. And I made a very conscious choice. And at that moment, I didn't ask for God to rescue me. I really asked only that God's will be done. And at that moment, I was immediately enveloped with a very physical sensation of being held and comforted and reassured. Reassured that my husband and my 4 young children would be fine. Everything would be fine regardless of whether I lived or died.
Did that feeling come before or after you died, do you know? Or what do you think?
Well, for me, death was a very seamless transition. I found it very curious because I knew I had been underwater too long to be alive, but there was no sudden transition for me. I believed that Jesus was holding me and comforting me, and I could still feel the boat. I was aware of the water pressure of the current. The water was pulling me out of the boat. And I knew that I must be dead, but it actually wasn't until my spirit separated from my body and I was up and out of the river and watching as my body was pulled to the shore and CPR initiated that I sort of thought, oh, well, I must actually be dead.
So you could actually, you died and you actually saw yourself, come out of your body and out of the river? And did you look down at yourself, or?
Well, as my body was being pulled over the front deck of the boat, I could feel my spirit being peeled away, almost like peeling apart 2 pieces of tape. And as my body released from the boat, I felt my spirit released from my body. And yes, I rose up and out of the water. And I was greeted by a group of people, beings, spirits. I'm not quite sure what to call them. All those words mean different things to different people. But they were so overjoyed to see me, and I them. And it was when I was with them that, yes, I could look back at the scene at the river and see my body be pulled out and see these friends of mine begin CPR. And I looked at my body very fondly. I'm like, gee, thank you for being a good body, but see you later.
Like saying goodbye to an old car or something?
Exactly.
Yeah. Huh. And then you went to heaven? Or what happened?
Well, and then these people or spirits who I didn't recognize, they were brilliant, and I couldn't make out their faces well enough to identify them as my grandfather or my neighbor. But they were people who I knew had known me and loved me for an eternity, and I them. And they began to take me down this beautiful path to this great hall of sorts. I like to think of it as the entrance hall, but this hall that was so beautiful. It's truly beyond description, and it's a beauty of an intensity that was such that I felt that I could not only see it, but I could taste it and hear it and experience it.
You could see all of these things sort of in your... This is very mystic what we're talking about, I know, but you could see all of these things there in a way, like you could describe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and not only that, you actually felt like you're almost a part of it or something.
I did, and more than anything else, not only were these people, but this hallway was exploding with God's love. Pure, complete, absolute, and unconditional love.
Yeah, wonderful. And now, so you obviously didn't stay there.
I wanted to.
Yeah, so you wanted to. I mean, I hear that a lot. You didn't want to come back, and you wanted to just, yeah.
I love my husband, and I love my children more than I could ever imagine loving something here on earth. But I felt like I was home, my true home. And I had been reassured that everything would be fine. And I had absolutely no desire to come back. I was not happy about it.
That's encouraging. No, it's encouraging because what it says is that this life is important, but the next life is maybe more important.
The next life is clearly more important. We can never lose sight of that.
Yeah. And so what happened? So then your friends resuscitated you, and then you just...
So my kids would say that I was kicked out of heaven, but I wasn't happy to come back. But of course, when we did arrive at the entrance, I was told that it wasn't my time, and I had more work to do on earth, and I had to go back to my body. And when I protested and complained about that, I was given some information and almost a laundry list of things that I still had to do on earth and expectations for my life.
What was the most important one? What was the top of the list?
The absolute top of the list was to share my story with others. Yeah. And in doing so, not only reassure them of God's unbelievable love for each one of us, even those people I may not like or don't agree with, the unbelievable love, but even beyond that is really reassuring them that God is present and active in each one of our lives if we just take the time to look. And in looking at our own lives and finding God, we can then make this transition from faith to an absolute trust in the promises of God. And that changes our lives profoundly. Yeah. If we can accept that all those promises are true, we don't have to worry about death. Yeah. We can focus on every moment of every day and doing what we've come here to do and being God's lights in the world.
Mary, what a blessing. Thank you. So you feared death. You feared a drowning death before you died. Do you still fear death?
No.
Not at all.
No, not at all. I can hardly wait.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful. Mary, you've blessed me, and I think you've blessed all of us so richly. Thank you for sharing your story and
Thank you.
bringing
It's
it to the
my
world.
absolute privilege.
Thank you, Mary. God loves you, and so do we.